Happy Memorial Day, Heat fans, and we have a disgusting report to talk about on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff, and it's all about Jimmy Butler because there's a rumor out there that surfaced on Friday afternoon that the Heat would be open to trading Jimmy Butler. Before I have some thoughts on it, here is what the quote was from that article. It came from Helin, who said, despite what Pat Riley said at his press conference, there are rumblings that Miami could be open to parting ways with Jimmy Butler rather than extending him. Reuniting Butler and Joel Embiid could work, something Fisher mentions at Yahoo Sports. He also notes DeMar DeRozan is a free agent, but that's not an ideal fit. That's coming from a Philadelphia 76ers point of view, by the way. And in that same article, Kurt also had this line: league executives are of the mind that Butler will most likely remain with the Heat. Fucking shocker. Like, Jimmy Butler is not going to be traded. And if you clicked on this video and you're a fan of the Heat and are panicking, I'm going to tell you why you should not be worried about Jimmy Butler being dealt away this offseason. And if you're a fan of a different team hoping that, well, Butler might be available and you're seeing why he's available, I'll tell you, I don't think he is. And I hate these type of reports, man. Like, to me, I think this article is just looking for engagement, which, to be fair, like, we have to talk about it, so you could say we're doing the same thing, but, like, I want to make sure you guys are the most informed Heat fans. So you see this out there, I want to make a video kind of dispelling these rumors. I think it's a fraudulent fake report. So spam F Philly because they're trying to push a narrative out there that Jimmy Butler and Miami aren't going to stay together, and that just isn't true. The Heat aren't trading Jimmy, man. They aren't. Like, the Butler trade stuff needs to stop. I think this might be the last time I talk about it unless there's a legit report out there from like a Shams or Woj that it's pointing that way. Like, I'm done with the Jimmy Butler rumors because the Heat are still trying to compete and they're still trying to get a championship with Jimmy Butler on the roster. Butler's given you 5 excellent seasons in the 305. It's been one of the top 3-4 moves in Miami Heat history. Like, I'm not even shitting you. Like, getting Jimmy here saved us. We were in purgatory. We were in that range you don't want to be in of constantly being the 8 seed or barely missing the playoffs, but never having a high enough lottery pick to make a difference. And then Jimmy saved Miami, came with Bam, came with Tyler, and we've been one of the most competitive and best teams in the NBA over the last 5 years. So to me, the Jimmy Butler conversation is not if he's going to be traded, it's when and if an extension is going to happen this offseason. Will they get one done prior to the season getting underway in October? Or will they have it go into next year? It doesn't have to be done this offseason. He's under contract through this year, and he's got a player option next year as well. But I would like to see one potentially get done if you're in the business of keeping Jimmy here to close out his career. And this is a report or note, I should say, on Jimmy Butler and potentially get an extension from Anthony Chiang from about a month ago. He said Jimmy Butler, who turns 35 on September 14th, is expected to seek a maximum 2-year contract extension worth about $113 million from the Heat this offseason, according to a league source. This 2-year max extension would include salaries of $54.3 million for the 25-26 season, a $2 million increase from the player option that he's currently under contract for, and then a $58.6 million price tag for the 26-27 season when Butler will be 37 years old. Those numbers could fluctuate based on where the NBA salary cap is set for those seasons. And I actually sneaky expect a contract extension. Now, will it happen this offseason? I don't know. If you had to put a gun to my head and make me choose if does he get extended this offseason or not, I would say yes more than I would say no. Like, Jimmy does have a player option for the 25-26 season. So there is a legit scenario to, if you don't extend Jimmy, Butler plays maybe one of the best seasons of his career this upcoming season. After getting called out for Pat Riley, he takes it to him to prove a point, and then he opts out of his contract next season and is on the free agent market to cash in on another massive 2-year deal. I don't want that. I want Jimmy to be with Miami for the rest of his career. I know some fans feel differently. I'm a Jimmy Butler guy. I'll ride or die with him. He took us to 2 NBA Finals and has given it all. Sure, it has been frustrating to watch him in the regular season, and I have receipts out there. I openly admit it. I don't think you could be a competitive regular season team with Jimmy as your top guy because you need someone to show up for 70 games a season and be an offensive juggernaut. Jimmy's not that, but when the postseason turns around, he's healthy. He's a top 5, top 10 dominant player in the NBA. I will still ride with Jimmy Butler on my team. I want him on my team. I just think you need to add another player to take the burden off of him for the regular season so you are not playing in the play-in every single year. So get this question answered for me down below. Let me know, will Jimmy Butler get extended this offseason? Type E for extended or type W for won't. I see both sides of the coin. You can go either way, but like I said, I would say extension more than I would say won't. I kind of just alluded to it before I asked you that, though. It's just important to me to get another guy for this Heat roster. Like Jimmy, as he's approaching age 35, I think in very select scenarios, he could be one of the most dominant two-way players in the NBA. Like, he struggled and did not look good for the most of the regular season. But before he hurt his knee against the 76ers in the play-in, he was already dominating that game. He already had 9 points. He already had 2 or 3 steals. Like, he was absolutely dominating the Sixers in the first period of that game. And then he gets the knee injury and plays the rest of the game on a sprained MCL, which is wild. He was able to do that and give you good production on the defensive end of the floor. But the point still remains, like, if he is healthy, he can dominate a game in the biggest moments. So you just need a guy to take the load off of Jimmy, not make Butler the guy that you have to go to for offense, and you say, hey, Jimmy, we need you to be in your playoff mode to win a regular season game. Because if you have someone else like a Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young that can do the offensive stuff with Bam and some of the supporting cast and let Jimmy just kind of be the closer / good wing defender for 65 games a year, like, now you're talking about a team that will finish in the top 4 in the Eastern Conference, not have to worry about the play-in, and then you can let Jimmy dominate the postseason and win a title, hopefully for the first time since 2014. More to talk about on this episode of the Heat Report, but we are sponsored by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app on the market, and you can get a first deposit match up to $100 when you download the app and use code CLNS. So easy to play. Just pick more, pick less on 2 or more player stat projections. So many different stat projections to choose from. You can go to the MLB. You can go to the NHL and NBA postseason. You can go to the NFL for season-long projections already. Yes, you heard me correctly. You can go to the NFL. I did on Memorial Day. I did. I took a break from basketball and was like, I need to test my luck and just maybe I'll get a winnings for another 12 months from now, and then I'll just be happy. More than on DeAndre Swift, 850.5 rushing yards, and then more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7.5 receiving touchdowns as well. I think those two could have pretty solid seasons for their respective teams. You can draw your winnings very easily as well, and I've always tried to preach this to you guys. I'm going to continue to preach it. The versatility and different amount of stat projections you could choose from is just unbelievable. You can combine 2 players. You can have stat projections a little bit lowered but a lower payout, or you can go higher and go for the risk with a higher payout. Flex Friday as well. So many things to play. Easy, quick withdrawals. So join me and millions of others playing Prize Picks on a daily basis at prizepicks.com/CLNS, or just download the app in your local app store and use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. That simple. Prize Picks. I'm just going to continue to harp this point as well, folks. Like, the Heat need to find an offensive stud. They do. They need someone to average 24-plus points per game alongside Bam. And I think Bam's going to get finally up to like 22, 23 this upcoming year. Why, you ask? Well, if he shoots a couple more threes, he continues to shoot 36%. Well, makes 1 or more threes a game. Well, that's 3 points more than he averaged 19. So I think he'll be at the 22-point per game mark this year. And if you could find another offensive guy that you had in the offseason to give you 24, 25, and then Jimmy kind of be that third guy in the regular season averaging 19 or 20, and then he ups his game to 25, 26 in the postseason, that's how I think this Heat team wins an NBA title. So who are some guys the Heat can add? Obviously, the guy we're talking about the most this offseason, we'll continue to touch on everything surrounding this man, Donovan Mitchell. He is an absolute stud. He fits both timelines. He can help win now with Jimmy and Bam. He can also be the guy paired up with Bam Adebayo to lead this Heat franchise for the next 7-8 seasons after Jimmy Butler potentially retires after 2 more years. Donovan Mitchell is the perfect guy for the Heat to go get. And we are going to continue to have the Heat's storyline covered surrounding Donovan Mitchell. And if he's leaving Cleveland, if he's signing a long-term extension, we'll have it all. So subscribe to the Heat Report. I'm Nic Rohloff. We will have you covered on everything surrounding Miami, leading up to the NBA draft, trade rumors, free agency. Don't miss out on your favorite club. How about Trae Young, not Donovan Mitchell here? We've briefly spoke on Trae Young in the past, but Young is definitely someone that can be that dude that I classified that can take over an offense, shoulder the load, average 25 plus, because it's simply all he's done in his entire career. After being drafted 5th overall from Oklahoma and being part of that Luka Doncic trade on draft night, like, Young has had a decent career. There's the questions about the defense, the questions about how he'd fit in Heat culture, if his play is conducive to winning. All I know is that he is one of the most offensive juggernaut. Probably should have said that the other way around, but like, he is just a juggernaut on offense. He gives you 25 points a game and 9+ assists. Like, he is one of the highest points accounted for players in the NBA. And even though the Hawks haven't been able to get over the hump, you get him alongside Jimmy and Bam, I think it's a different story. This would be the exact situation to allow Jimmy to take the load off on offense during the regular season, let Trae and Bam lead that charge, and then in the postseason when Trae has came up a little short a couple times, even though he's put up good raw numbers, Jimmy could take over and Trae could go to that third fiddle in ball handler and shot creator. So let me know, would you trade for Trae Young? I know he's a very divisive player amongst Heat fans and NBA fans, so let me know if you would trade for Ice Trae. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Brandon Ingram makes this list, but I got to be honest, I don't know if it's likely for Miami, and I don't know if I even like the fit anymore. I've thought about Brandon Ingram in the past and been a fan of his game. I'm just a fan of him in general. But if you put him on this Heat roster, he's going to have to play the power forward spot, or Jimmy will have to. Like, you're not playing Jimmy or BI in the 2 or 3, and you could just go to a big lineup, I suppose, but I'd probably like more three-point shooting because Ingram hasn't been the best three-point shooter in his career. There's also question marks about BI's ability to win, his drive, his motivation, his attention to detail, because there are times out there he just doesn't look engaged and he's not the best defender on the weak side or even on the ball. BI, talented offensive player, but lives in the mid-range, kind of like Jimmy and Bam does. Don't know if I love his fit. Someone who we've talked about in the past for quite a bit, actually, but haven't talked about him in a while because of how much he struggled this past season and was injured. But what about Zach LaVine? Like, he is someone that when healthy, when he has that explosiveness, when he has that bounce, can give you a consistent 24, 25 points per game plus and attack the opposing defenses at a 3-level basis. LaVine can shoot 37, 38% from 3. He can get to the rim and finish amongst the trees. Like, there is, and I still do believe, even though he's had all these injuries this past year, I think the guy that was in there from a couple years ago when the Bulls were the number team in the Eastern Conference, before Lonzo Ball tore his meniscus, him, DeRozan, and LaVine were cooking, right? I think that guy's still in there. Don't know what it would take to get Zach LaVine. It'd probably still take Tyler Hero because of how big LaVine's contract is, and you need to match salaries. The question is LaVine even worth moving Hero off of? But it could be that situation where the Heat make a lateral move, moving off Tyler Hero, just to create a different energy and aura into this locker room. So LaVine, I will put him as an option. We're going to have more surrounding the Miami Heat throughout the offseason, so make sure you hit that sub button. Hopefully you enjoyed your Memorial Day, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Go Heat.